Tesla is a brand that is known for its top-tier safety ratings. Yet recently, headlines declared it as the most dangerous car brands on the US roads. How could this happen? A new study from iSeeCars, one of the biggest names in the used car market, with up to 4 million listings at any given time, trusted by biggest media outlets, ranked Model S and Model Y amongst the most dangerous cars, and Tesla as the most dangerous car brand on the US roads. Like many others, I initially trusted their findings and even made a video about it, which I'm not that proud of, but something did not sit right. How could Tesla, a company that consistently dominates NHTSA and Euro NCAP safety ratings, fail so badly? Is Tesla really a dangerous car brand? This time I decided to do a proper deep dive. In this video, I will break down iSeeCars study, recreate their methodology, verify their results, and explain if their results were inaccurate. Spoiler alert, my findings tell a whole different story. Let's begin with iSeeCars itself and why did this study grab so much attention? iSeeCars is known as the kayak.com of used car market, analyzing and aggregating data from over 75% of all used car listings in US on a single website, roughly 10 million listings on a daily basis, making it easier for end customers to get the best deals. With frequent outings on major media outlets, their reports hold significant weight and visibility. What were the parameters of this study and what were their results? iSeeCars analyzed fatality data from US Fatality Analysis Reporting System, only cars from model years 2018 till 2022, in crashes that resulted in occupant fatalities between 2017 and 2022 were included in the analysis. iSeeCars identified models with a fatal accident rate at least 2 times higher than the average, and the average is 2.8 fatal accidents per billion miles. To adjust for exposure, the number of cars involved in fatal crashes were normalized by total number of vehicle miles driven, which was estimated from iSeeCars data of over 8 million vehicles on the road in 2022 from model years 2018 to 2022. Here's where Tesla appeared in their rankings. Top 23 most dangerous cars. Model S ranked 21st with fatal crash rate 2 times the average. That is 5.6 crashes per billion miles. And Model Y ranked 6th with a rate 3.7 the average, which is 10.6 crashes per billion miles. Secondly, by body type. For SUVs, Model Y was ranked as the 3rd most dangerous car. And lastly, by brand. Here, Tesla was crowned the most dangerous car brand overall. The next step was to recreate this study myself. Right off the bat, one issue stood out: lack of transparency. While iSeeCars presented alarmingly high numbers for Tesla, they omitted 2 critical pieces of information. Number 1, the actual number of fatal crashes, and number 2, the total vehicles miles driven. Without these details, the study essentially says, trust me bro, but transparency and reproducibility are the cornerstone of any credible study. If methods and data is not shared, the claims cannot be verified, and that's a huge red flag. Analyzing the FARS database. For this study, I used the same database as iSeeCars, NHTSA FARS, Fatality Analysis Reporting System. On the FARS website, there are 3 key resources. Number 1, FARS Encyclopedia, that summarizes 29 years of US crash and demographic data. Number 2, the manual, which explains how to interpret the FARS data. Number 3, the raw data files, which includes detailed crash level information. The encyclopedia provides important national metrics like fatal crashes, total fatalities, vehicle occupant fatalities, vehicle miles traveled in billions, and fatalities per 100 million miles. However, iSeeCars specifically mentioned the crashes that resulted in at least 1 occupant fatality, whereas the FARS encyclopedia data includes all fatalities, including pedestrians as well as motorcyclists. So I had to adjust the data to make a fair comparison. Step 1, adjusting the data for vehicle occupant fatalities. By analyzing 5 years of FARS data, I could establish a baseline. On average, 36,000 crashes per year result in 39,500 fatalities, a ratio of 1.09 fatalities per crash. And in the next step, I broke down the fatalities data, and roughly 65% of all fatalities are vehicle occupants. The rest are pedestrians and motorcyclists. Using these ratios, I estimated 23,864 crashes per year result in vehicle occupant fatalities, and these crashes account for about 25,905 fatalities annually. Now, by factoring in the vehicle miles traveled in billion, I estimated the average fatal crash rate for vehicle occupants to be 7.6 crashes per billion miles. iSeeCars claims that the average is 2.8 fatal crashes per billion miles, whereas my study estimates it to be 7.6 crashes per billion miles. A significant difference. And the problem is that I could not replicate their figure, and they have not provided a reference where they got this data from. Step 2. Going deeper with the raw data. Assuming I might have overlooked something, I decided to dive into the raw data files. The same files iSeeCars likely used. I downloaded the fast data from 2018 to 2022. Each data set is extensive, up to 33 data files and tens of thousands of data points. I analyzed the accident and vehicle file, but the person file turned out to be the most important and relevant to the study I am doing. It includes case number, car brand and model, model year, and person type, which I used to filter out the vehicle occupants only. Step 3. Crashes involving Tesla vehicles, model year 2018 to 2022. In the next step, I wanted to separate the number of fatal crashes with at least one occupant fatality, only for Tesla belonging to model year 2018 to 2022. After processing the data for 5 years, here's what I found. Total crashes across all vehicles, 119,318. Now let's focus on Tesla, specifically for the same model years. And honestly, the results surprised me. Model 3, Tesla's highest volume seller, had 56 fatal accidents, understandable given its high popularity. Model Y, despite its rapidly growing presence, recorded just 20 fatal accidents so far. Model S, often criticized in the headlines, was third with just 15 fatal crashes. And Model X, Tesla's luxury SUV, had only 6 fatal accidents. In total, all Tesla's models combined had 97 fatal crashes for the model years 2018 to 2022. That's only 0.6% of 16,061 crashes analyzed. Step 4, the final piece, vehicles miles driven. At this stage, we have two critical pieces of the puzzle. The total crashes from model years 2018 to 2022, a clear crash breakdown of Tesla models. The last piece is to estimate the total miles driven for each car. And this requires two further key figures. The total number of all Teslas sold between 2018 and 2022, and the average annual vehicle mileage data for US. Now that we have the crash numbers, it's time to calculate how many miles each Tesla model has been driven. This will help us determine how dangerous, or rather how safe each Tesla model really is. To get started, I gathered Tesla's sales data from goodcarbadcar.net, which clearly shows some interesting trends. Model Y has been dominating the sales ever since its launch. Model 3 sales have started to cool down in the recent years, and in 2022, both Model S and Model X saw a sales spike, likely due to the Plaid version launching. Here is the total breakdown of Tesla's sales between model year 2018 and 2022. 166,705 Model S, 104,354 Model X, 825,225 Model 3, and 427,327 Model Y, bringing us to a combined total of 1.52 million Teslas on the road. But how far these cars have actually driven? At first, I found the average annual mileage of a driver to be around 13,476 miles from the Federal Highway Administration database. But to be accurate, I needed the annual average mileage per vehicle. Using FARS data, I compared the total miles driven. For example, in 2022, 3,196 billion miles were traveled by 283 million vehicles registered. This gave me an annual average of about 11,293 miles per vehicle. When averaged over 5 years, this number is roughly 11,313 miles, which I've used for my analysis. But here where it gets a little tricky, but super important. To find Tesla's total miles driven, we need a running total. I couldn't simply multiply the total sales by the average mileage, because each car accumulates miles year after year. Instead, I added the mileage of each year car sales cumulatively. Let me give you an example with Model 3. In 2018, 140,000 Model 3s were sold. By the end of the year, they collectively drove 1.6 billion miles. In 2019, another 160,000 Model 3 were sold, adding 1.8 billion miles. But the 2018 cars didn't stop driving. They added another 1.6 billion miles in 2019. With this logic, here are the results. Assuming no Teslas went out of service or failed prematurely. Let's focus on 2022 as a solid sample year. The results speak for themselves. All Tesla models fall well below my estimated 7.6 fatal crashes per billion miles. And even if I use iSeeCars' reported average of 2.8 fatal crashes per billion miles, which I have no idea of how they calculated, the only exception is Model S, which slightly comes above it, but nowhere near the 5.6 fatal crashes per billion miles that iSeeCars claimed. Now looking at the cumulative data, combining the total mileage and crashes across all years, it's crystal clear that calling Tesla the most dangerous brand is completely inaccurate. I've spent countless hours double checking and verifying my calculations, yet I always keep arriving at the same conclusions. Fourth best for occupant safety, Model S. Third best, Model Y. Second best, Model 3. And the safest Tesla of all is Model X. So how did iSeeCars come up with such an inaccurate conclusion? My suspicion, they misinterpreted or mishandled the data, particularly when estimating the miles traveled. The lack of transparency make it impossible to pinpoint where exactly they went wrong. But based on my analysis, the conclusion is clear. Tesla is not the most dangerous brand on the US roads. On the contrary, Tesla vehicles are among the safest on the US roads. Now it's your turn. I've laid out my numbers and my assumptions, and I'll provide all the references in the description. If you think I've overlooked something or made a miscalculation, let me know in the comments. I welcome a healthy discussion. And if you see it differently, I would love to hear your perspective. If this video helped you understand the facts, don't forget to like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to my channel.